If you want to start creating and selling digital products, access my Digital Product Bootcamp right now. I'll walk you through how to pick your most profitable digital product idea, how to create it, and how to sell it. Plus, you'll get access to templates, 35 new digital product ideas per month, and expert interviews from 6- and 7-figure business owners selling digital products. Check it out at herownmagic.com/bootcamp.
What's up, magical human? Hey, if you're like me and you want to create a bigger impact on the world, why not share your knowledge and talents with others? Welcome to the podcast where I share marketing strategies, product creation tips, and real-life stories of how women all over the world are using their knowledge and creativity to build a life and business they love on their terms. I'll share with you over a decade of knowledge and show you how you can take what you already know and do and package it into a digital product like a course, membership site, or digital download that sells globally. I'm Amy Jo, and you're listening to the Digital Magic Podcast.
I've been sitting here just staring at my recording device, trying to figure out exactly what I want to say. If you're on my email list, I sent out an email last night at almost midnight that was just on my heart and I just felt like it was very important to say. So I'm going to kind of mimic that a little bit. So stay with me. Sometimes I treat this podcast kind of as a little journal and a teaching tool at the same time, but today might be a little more journal than teaching. Over the span of my business and just life in general, I have not handled stress well, really, ever. I'm a very anxious person by birth. I always joke, I came out the womb so anxious about just everything. And having a business does not help that at all in so many different ways. You're worried about paying contractors, you're worried about growing your email list and growing your sales and balancing being a mom and being a wife and growing a business and not looking silly online and not saying the wrong thing and getting a podcast out on time, all of these little things. And it's a lot. And back in 2015, June 1st, 2015, when I quit my job, I did not have that backup plan. That was not smart. If I didn't have a backup plan, I didn't have a plan B of what I was going to do or, another job I was going to get. I was just I'm going to try this thing. I'm going to try and make money online and do it my way. And if I flop, I flop and I'll figure it out. We were somewhat newlyweds. We got married in 2014. So about 6 months later after that is when I was like, I'm going to quit my job with no plan B. Oy, don't ever do that. But I was in a position that was really hard on my mental health, and it was time. And so I did, and I had a total panic attack 3 days later that, what did I do? And then I had to really put my feet on the ground and figure it out. My husband was working a lot of hours, and I ended up having 5 jobs, all different pieces of income that I was piecing together in order to help us stay afloat. And if you've listened to, past podcast episodes, you know that it was just really hard. And so I was teaching, I was on contract through the community college. I was on contract for weekend teaching. I had my own business where I would go into people's homes and I would do painting parties and I would do private art lessons and all of that while I was trying to also get clients online as far as helping them build their blogs and build their websites. There was a lot. And so I had at this point, multiple streams of income where I was trying to piece together so that together we could pay our bills. And so anyways, all of that to say, the hustle was fierce and it really never stopped. My husband and I are very driven. We're very hustling people. We will find a way. We're very resilient. We're very goal focused, and we have really big goals in a lot of different areas. He has really big career goals, and I have really big career goals and mom goals and just everything. And this has worked fairly well for us. We have grown in a lot of areas and we really honestly thrived in a lot of areas because we're just very resilient. We don't turn off, we don't shut down, and we're always thinking of the next thing. What's the next best step for us, for our family. Where are we going? What do we want to do? How are we going to retire early? Like all of these things. My husband has big goals of taking over his family business with his brother. And so that is on the table right now. It's like a huge, conversation that we are having. We just bought, quote unquote, our dream home, like our house that we're really excited about. We closed on it yesterday. And 2-3 days before that, we found ourselves in the ER being admitted into the hospital. And I just looked up like some of the most stressful life events. Like what are the top stressful life events that people can go through? And in the top list is moving, career changes, and health stuff, and child stuff. And we had like 4 of the top 10 that have hit us in the last week. And so on Friday, we found ourselves in the ER. I took my husband there because something was just not right. And they ended up admitting him, and we're not 1,000% sure of exactly what happened. It was either a mini stroke or an atypical complex migraine, which he's never had migraines before, anything like that. All of the paperwork that we got was for mini stroke advice and protocols and all of this stuff. And it was extremely scary. And the day that he was released, we had our final walkthrough of our house, and we closed on the house 2 days later. And it has been wild. And while we were there, sitting there in the ER, he was sleeping, and, when he was admitted and everything, he was sleeping, and I'm just thinking, here we are, like, this is what happened. This is what happened because we haven't taken care of ourselves. We've been hustling for years, and it just kind of all came to a head last week. Like, years of going for the gold and pushing ourselves and losing sleep. And, I've even talked about it on this podcast, and now I regret that. But in order to be a mom in the way that I wanted to be, I had to figure out how to run my business in the way that would let me do that. And one of the ways that I have done that is by working later into the evenings. And so, oh man. And, if you did see that email from me last night, I sent it at, 11 or 12 at night because I'm up thinking and working and worrying. And like I said, this is going to be kind of like journaling, but I think the message is important because I know a lot of you out there are following influencers, and you're following these, hustle culture gurus of people who are pushing you to like push, lose sleep, do all of this, da-da-da-da. Like, they're not worried about your mental health. They're not worried about your physical health. They're probably worried about selling you a course or selling you like, some crazy price thing that you don't even need. The people out there who are posting that stuff, they're not concerned about you, they're concerned about them. Let me say that again. They're not concerned about you, they're concerned about them. 9 times out of 10. There are good people out there. There are good posters and like influencers and stuff like that. But especially if you are in the female entrepreneur space, there's a lot of people out there who are pushing just not great things, like very toxic things that are toxic to you, they're toxic to your family, they're toxic to your mental health, they're toxic to your physical health. You're going to end up where we ended up last week. And this is, my warning episode, I guess, to like not let yourself or your family get to the point where we are. My husband is 33, I'm 33, and our health is not super great because we're not focused on it. We've been focused on literally everything else. Our son, our business, moving, growing, hitting our goals, everything outside of actually taking care of ourselves. And when we're coming into this and you're wanting to start an online business or, a side hustle or whatever you're wanting to do, we're not thinking about that. We're thinking about money, right? We're money driven. I think humans are money driven, a lot of us, because money allows us to make bigger impacts. It allows us to do like a lot of things, right? And that is where we see everyone and their brother on the influence space as far as like, I made X number of dollars yesterday and you can do da-da-da-da. And if you don't, then you end up mentally shaming yourself, or you push yourself until the point of burnout trying to hit those goals. And so I guess the point of this episode, this little journal entry that I'm doing right now, is that you sit down and you make attainable goals that aren't going to get you to that burnout place. And you're going to make a list and you're going to say, this is the stuff that I can let go of. This is the stuff that I need to do. this is going to be like how it's going to be manageable to do these things. This is what I need to put into place to do these things in a way that is comforting and soothing to me. And I was actually just on a call with one of my clients specifically talking about this. And what we talked about, her specifically, was she was saying like everything out there, it's just too much. Like, it doesn't feel good. People need that human connection. Like, people need to slow down. And for me, like, that's a really big thing is I'm constantly like, what are we doing tomorrow? What are we doing next week? Let's make the plans. Da, 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 da. And I have a really hard time slowing down and just enjoying the day. And if we think about it, we're not going to be here that long. And I know it's not fun to think about that, but it's true. We really don't know when the last day is going to be for us. And it would be a shame if we are hitting those levels of burnout or we're in a place that is not fun and not exciting and we're, crying over this and that when we can be enjoying the process in a way that is sustainable for us and our health. And I want to remind you that whatever you're seeing online, whatever people are posting is not the full story. It is absolutely not, especially like influencers. The influencer space is sketchy. I'm just going to say it. And there's tons of videos on this. You can look it up on YouTube as far as influencers lying, taking screenshots, like making it look like they are something that they're not. It's a scary world out there. And I want you to be aware of it because everything that you're seeing, even if you're you poo-poo it and you ignore it and you move on, your subconscious is still picking it up and it's internalizing it in some way. Okay, so we have to be very aware of what we're seeing and what we are like allowing into our space. And a couple of weeks ago, actually, I was getting coffee with actually a former boss, and we were chatting and everything, and my son was with us, and so he went off to the bathroom, and her and I were talking. I was watching him, like, waiting for him to come out of the bathroom, and she was like, you just look like you have everything together. Like, how do you do it? And I just looked at her, and I was like, I'm a really good actress. Like, to be honest, I struggle with anxiety every single day, and I wake up, and I put one foot in front of the other, and I just hope that I make it through, honestly. I try to do it with a good attitude. Sometimes I don't, and then I feel bad about that, and we just move on, and then we have the next day, and we just do it all over again. But that's not something right now at this point that I talk about, on social media or out in the world all the time, is like that stuff, right? So you would never know unless you're listening to my podcast right now where I'm telling you, like, you would never know. I could just be posting all these happy little selfies, la la la, everything's great, when it's madness over here, people. But what I do know is when life gets tricky, and when stuff like this happens and you're just like, what is even happening right now? That is your learning point. And so our learning point that happened this weekend on that drive to the ER when we were being admitted, all of that stuff, our learning point was like, things have got to change and we got to do it fast. Like, we got to implement this stuff ASAP so that we can live a long, happy life. Otherwise, burnout is going to take over, and that's not fun either, right? And so even though it was very scary and everything, like this past weekend, we have a lot of stuff that we're going to start putting into place, a lot of, action steps for us. We have a very supportive community around us. Everyone's been like very kind to like help us, and who will help us also like move into our new house this week, which is wild that is even a thing. So my hope for you is that you will honestly, like, stop looking at all this stuff on social media that's not even true in the first place. But outside of that is that you will focus on yourself as you are growing your business, as you're growing as a human, as you are progressing and moving forward. I really want you to focus on you. Focus on your mental health, your physical health, your family. Put all of that first, and then your cup will feel more full so that you can overflow into your business, so that you're not hitting that empty cup, that burnout place, that place of like stress and anxiety and comparisonitis and all those negative feelings that come up that you're going to be faced with as you just progress in life, honestly. Okay? Can we do that? Can you promise me? Okay. Thank you. Okay, so that was my little journal entry from today for this podcast episode. Hopefully you got some tips and you can, take kind of a step back, look at your life in areas where you can really just love on yourself, love on your health, your mental health, your people around you. And then once you're loving on all that, then you can love into your business, okay? I know it's a lot and it feels like a balancing act, and you always want to put yourself last because everybody else comes first. And maybe you're a people pleaser like me, or a perfectionist, and you're like, no, I got this. I can keep all the plates spinning. It's really hard to do that. It's really, really hard, and you don't have to. Okay? So I love you. Thank you for listening to this, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.
Aw man, this episode's over, but that's okay. You can come hang out in the Digital Product Female Entrepreneurs Facebook group, hang out with thousands of us making digital products, creating awesome, cool things, and selling them to the world. Come get inspired, come hang out with us. There's thousands of us there, and we cannot wait to support you. Now, if you need some ideas on digital products that you can create and sell, go to herownmagic.com and download my freebie. It's 65 digital products you can create and sell by this weekend. It is waiting for you there. Go check it out. And you have an amazing week. Thank you for tuning in. I will see you next time. Go create your own magic.